لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا.
All praise be to Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, and peace and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We thank Allah that we were able to have another meeting with another companion, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in your program With the Prophet. In this episode, we'll be talking about a man who fled his tribe for some reason and sought refuge at the time Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in Mecca. And he paid allegiance to a man called AlAswad. Therefore, he was nicknamed after him. The Prophet ﷺ is the Prophet of love for his companions, for all humanity. And those who follow the Prophet ﷺ will be loved by Allah. The Prophet said, Allah ordered me to love four. And Allah told me that He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, loves them. They said, who are they, O Prophet of Allah? He said, Ali, Abu Dharr, Salman, and AlMiqdad ibn al-Aswad. May Allah be pleased with them all. So it's not only Allah who loves those great companions of Prophet, the Prophet himself who loves those companions, but Allah loves them. Imagine somebody hates Abu Bakr and hates Umar and hates Uthman, hates Aisha and say bad things about them. Subhanallah. Those are the people that Allah said in the Quran, رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. The situation in Mecca was very difficult. The companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ were persecuted. Very few would seek protection from their own clans, like Abu Bakr would be protected by his tribe, Taym, and his position in Quraysh was in a high position. The Prophet, he would be protected by his uncle and his tribe as well, and some others. But some had no tribes, like AlMiqdad. Slaves like Bilal, like even Suhaib, Ammar ibn Yasir, his mother, his father, those people were persecuted. Nobody was protecting them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevated them through the persecution that they went through the calamities that they went through the punishment that they accepted and resisted and accepted and resisted. Actually, Islam and resisted all ways of torture that might lead them away from Islam for the sake of Allah. We'll start with a situation that is very interesting with AlMiqdad. When the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina and the Battle of Badr took place, and the polytheists, the kuffar of Quraysh, did not stop their attack against the Prophet and his companions, even when they migrated to Medina. They went there in Badr, okay? They followed that the next year in Uhud. Then they followed that after a few years in Al-Khandaq and surrounded Medina. They gathered all the Arabs. So they were posing great threat to Islam and to the Prophet of Islam and his companions, although they left them behind, okay? But they wouldn't leave them alone and practice their religion. So at the Battle of Badr, the Prophet ﷺ realized that Quraysh is coming. He had only 300 people, very few horsemen. They were not prepared for a battle. And the Qurayshis were more than 1,000. And they were prepared for a battle in the Prophet ﷺ, and they were aiming to uproot Islam altogether, to the extent that the Prophet ﷺ said, if this group of people were killed, Islam would be uprooted, O Allah. And this is why he was really making dua to Allah all the time. When he spoke to his companions regarding the danger that is coming to him, Al-Miqdad was the first to say, "O Prophet to Allah, go to wherever Allah has directed you to go, will be with you. Even if you go through this sea, will follow you." So this is a position for Al-Miqdad. May Allah be pleased with him. Al-Miqdad was even among the people of As-Suffah, and we have already mentioned who are the people of As-Suffah. They are the people who are staying in the masjid of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They had no place to go to, so they were very close to the Prophet ﷺ. And this is a very interesting story, indicates how close the Prophet ﷺ was close to those people, how close he was to them, how humble he was, alayhi salatu wassalam, how they were friendly with him, he was friendly with them. There is no gap between the Prophet ﷺ and his followers. يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَ, very close to him. The relationship between the Prophet and those people was based on love, respect. So Al-Miqdad said the Prophet ﷺ had 3 goats where the Prophet and some of the people of Suffah used to milk and drink its milk every night. And they will divide it among themselves. Everybody will take a share. And the Prophet ﷺ would come at any time and take his share. He said one night, we milked these goats. Everybody drank. My friends slept. I was awake and I was looking at the milk, at the pot. He said, the shaitan came to me, said, "Why don't you drink it? The Prophet ﷺ is late. He might have drank some milk or ate some food at one of the houses of Ansar or one of the house of his wives." He said, then I went there and said, "Let's drink some little." He drank little, put it back. Again, he went back and started drinking again. For the 3rd time, he was drinking until he finished the whole milk. He said, now he started blaming himself. He said, what if the Prophet comes and he needs his milk? What should I do to him? What should I say? Let me try to pretend to be sleeping. And he said it was the manner of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. When he enters the mosque, he would say, "Assalamu alaikum," in a way that the awake person would hear him. The sleeping one wouldn't be able to be awakened by saying Assalamu alaikum. Look at the manners of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said Assalamu alaikum. Al-Miqdad responded. The Prophet ﷺ went there, the milk was not there. He said, "There is no milk, Al-Miqdad. Why don't you go to the goats?" He didn't think that he already drank the milk, and milk one of them for us. Al-Miqdad knew that there is no milk again in the udder of these goats. But he said, when I went to the goat, the udder was swallowing and was full. He said, I started milking the goats, and the pot was full, as if we had not milked the goats before. He said, I went back to the Prophet ﷺ and I gave him to drink. He drank. And he gave it to me, and I started drinking again. Then after drinking, he said, why didn't you call? He said, they drank already, they're asleep. Then he started laughing. The Prophet ﷺ, that Al-Miqdad was laughing. He said, this is one of your tricks, Al-Miqdad. Then he told him what really happened. Al-Miqdad spoke about himself and he said, there were 7 people during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who declared their Islam in public. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was also among them. And you understand at that time, when you declare your Islam in public and you have no protection, you will be heavily persecuted. You will be heavily punished by the polytheists, the kuffar of Quraysh, who wouldn't accept anybody accepting Islam in secret, not to mention you go and challenge them in public. And again, let's look at this incident when the Prophet ﷺ appointed Al-Miqdad to be a leader in one mission. When AlMiqdad came back to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ said, how did you feel about being an Amir, okay, a leader of your group in that mission? He said, oh Prophet of Allah, it came to my mind when I'm a leader in this position that all those people who are under my command were servants. This is why, by Allah, that I will not lead in any work all my life. I say for those who seek position, they aspire to be in a position where they have control over people. Look at what Miqdad said to the Prophet ﷺ, and realize that Allah put you in this position to serve people, not to think of them as servants to you. You go to that position realizing the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who Allah put in a position and took over my ummah or my people and give them hardship, may Allah give him hardship. And who treated them with ease, with mercy, may Allah treat him with ease. May Allah treat you and me and all the believers with ease and guide us to that which bring us close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and make us among those who follow the path and the practice of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We'll meet you again بإذن الله in another episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا.